The gates of crazy political appointments have flung far open with the nomination of Matt Gaetz yesterday as Trump's Attorney General. And the bombshell fallouts from that, well, they're exploding all over the internet. We have them here for you today, so duck and cover and get ready for a barrage of outrage from even the fringiest of the GOP fringe about the cringiest of the MAGA cringe. And that would be, of course, Matt Gaetz, DJT's nominee for AG, who can now add to his list of growing distinctions, accused sexual predator, well, as of yesterday, premature resignator.
He issued his resignation letter effective immediately of Congress. That caught us by surprise.
Trump tapped Gaetz to serve as Attorney General. The nomination came as the House Ethics Committee was in the final stages of its investigation into Gaetz over allegations of sexual misconduct and illicit drug use, sources tell ABC News.
If Matt has resigned and is no longer a member of Congress, the ethics investigation will cease and no report will be issued.
Since Gaetz is no longer a member of Congress, the committee has no jurisdiction over him. The report won't be made public. And Gaetz, who has denied any wrongdoing, is now Trump's pick to lead the department that investigated him for years. Confirmation by the Senate is likely to be an uphill battle.
Seems like Mike Judge's visual muse is not only about to find out who his real friends are, and yet also what surprises may well reveal themselves before day's end. As Raw Story reports just this morning, a House Ethics Committee report into Trump Attorney General nominee Matt Gaetz could soon see the light of day. Miami Herald reporter Julie K. Brown, whose work exposing the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein won her a George Polk Award, reports that sources for Miami Herald McClatchy confirmed that the ethics report into Gaetz is highly damaging and could be leaked today. Now, here are some reactions from his closest supporters in his very own party. For example, John Cornyn, moments ago, just had this to say about vetting Matt Gaetz.
The issue of vetting, though, how critical is it then to have access to what the House Ethics Committee has found in their investigation?
I think there should not be any limitation on the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigation, including whatever the House Ethics Committee has generated.
So you want to see it?
Absolutely.
Max Miller, recently, Republican, Ohio, he spoke about his respect for Matt Gaetz.
I just think it's silly. I believe that the president is probably rewarding him for being such a loyal soldier to the president. But the president is smart enough and his team is smart enough to know that Mr. Gaetz will never get confirmed by the Senate. Mr. Gaetz breaks things to break things, and then once he breaks it even more. And that is somebody who should not be the Attorney General of the United States. I can tell you, I'm not the only one out of 222 that we'll end up with that is happy that he is leaving this conference.
Of course, Kevin McCarthy, surely, if anyone could offer some honest words of support for Matt Gaetz, it must be...
And I'll give you the truth why I'm not Speaker. It's because one person, a member of Congress, wanted me to stop an ethics complaint because he slept with a 17-year-old. An ethics complaint that started before I ever became Speaker, and that's illegal.
Okay, then. John Bolton, never a crossword for anyone. He must have some kind of an interesting take on Matt Gaetz's qualification to lead the Justice Department of the new and improved United States of America. John Bolton?
Well, it must be the worst nomination for a cabinet position in American history. I think this is something that falls well outside the scope of deference that should be given to a president in nominating members of his senior team. Gaetz is not only totally incompetent for this job, he doesn't have the character. He is a person of moral turpitude. And notwithstanding how difficult it may be politically, this is a nomination the Republican Party should oppose.
So why has Trump put forth such a terribly unqualified nominee? Well, as MSNBC's Chris Hayes and Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy recently determined, that's pretty much a total dictator move.
Okay, so bottom line. The people closest to Matt Gaetz who serve with him view him as a man of exceptionally low character. They loathe him. And I think it's fair to say he couldn't win a secret ballot for Senate confirmation if you just took the Republicans. But if Democrats in the Senate don't want to see him as the chief law enforcement officer of the United States, at the very least, they're going to need to pick a very public fight about it. Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut won re-election by a decisive margin of almost 19% last week. He also ran the top of the ticket, and he joins me now. Well, let's start, Senator. I mean, the advising consent role of the Senate is an important one. It can be frustrating and maddening when it's abused to keep people out of positions. But this seems to me like one of those situations where who's going to run the Department of Justice? Matt Gaetz. It seems pretty important for the Senate to exercise some advising consent here.
Yeah, listen, I think this is kind of a before and after moment. Donald Trump said transparently during the campaign that he wanted to use the power of his office to go after his political opponents. Project 2025 called for the Department of Justice to just become another arm of the White House. And now he is executing that plan. I don't know that you return from a decision to end the independence of the judiciary. It is one of the hallmarks, the bedrocks, a foundation of American democracy, that the Department of Justice stands up for everybody and applies the rule of law fairly. Matt Gaetz is going to do whatever the White House tells him to do. Matt Gaetz has made it clear that he thinks law enforcement should bend their knee to the Trump White House. And I don't know that this is American democracy any longer if Matt Gaetz is simply executing the wishes of a very political, partisan, and vindictive White House.
BDT and ADT, before and after DT. Well, like these pictures of these young women in 1970s Tehran, we will not know what we've lost until it is gone. And moving ahead, the measure of his absolute power is going to be determined by what the once free-willed citizens of the United States will dutifully tolerate.